Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to the Earth Experience with Kalina Angell. Are you ready to fall in love with the human experience? Are you aware of the divine soul that you are and why it is that you came here to have the Earth experience? You were born in the 3D. Now you are ascending into the fifth dimensional being that you Divine Creator on Earth, welcome to this experience. Welcome to this show.
Woo! How is that for a Friday night? This is your host, Kalina Angell, and you are listening to the Earth Experience. Well, this is the episode, the second episode. Last week we had a pre-recorded show, and now we have a live show. We have a lot going on. I'm going to catch my breath. I dance to that song every time I hear it. Come on. If you like it, it's called Immense by Robin Strand, and of course the voiceover is me. So if you want to check that out, he is on SoundCloud. Wonderful musician. So what is tonight's show about? Well, we are going to talk about who are you without your mask. What do I mean by that? Well, we are going to explore that topic in full detail. Who are you if you're not wearing a mask? If you're not living the role that you are as male or female or whatever it is that you are, whatever you've defined yourself as, who are you without your mask? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about masks, and then I'm going to have a very special co-host, love of my life, Rob Gauthier, come in. And we're going to discuss a little bit about that. And then we are also going to have a live chat with Trevor Yitney, which is the benevolent reptilian hybrid that Rob channels. Then we're going to take callers. And in between these, there are going to be some special little clips, poetry that I've written, some music, and also a clip from Nora. So I think it's going to be really, really fun night. And first thing I'm going to do is segment in a little bit of music, and we will be right back with our wonderful co-host, Rob Gauthier.
Both afraid to say we're just too far away from being close together from the start. We tried to talk it over, but the words got in the way. We're lost inside this lonely game we play. Thoughts of leaving disappear every time I see your eyes. No matter how hard I try to understand the reasons why we carry on this way. We're lost in a masquerade.
All right, welcome back, everybody, and welcome to Rob Gauthier. Are you there?
I'm here. I am so excited to be on the show.
I'm excited too. Finally live this time around. Kind of dropping the mask, so to speak, on episode 2, right?
Absolutely. I think it's the best subject to come up with. It's very prevalent in our times these days.
Yes, you can always edit yourself easily and pre-recorded, so I thought this is very fitting, dropping the mask, going live. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the mask. And the first thing that I wanted to talk about was the universal mask. That's the first mask I want to talk about. And so what I mean by universal mask, a lot of us have heard how we're all one. We're all one. We are, as Nora Harold's 12th-dimensional beings refer to, as universal beings of love and light. And then as I like to describe it, we had this big bang, and which to me means someone amongst us within our collective as one, we were like, hey guys, I have a great idea. What if we pretended we're not one? What if we split apart to explore various worlds, various realities? And then one collective said, let's create Earth. Let's pretend we're separate, limited beings. And then the third dimensional level, we're going to feel separate, limited, and a need to control and survive, and yet love and feel passion. And then bam, we began shifting, and we start remembering who we are, which is what we're going into with this 5D reality. It's like we are going from dreaming to lucid dreaming, if you will. So we're going to explore a little bit about this universal mask, as I like to call it, the original mask that we wanted to play this game. So we have these personality selves that we create, whether it's on Earth or in other worlds. And I wanted to get your take on this, Rob, because you teach a lot about, the densities. In the density classes, we talk about the evolution of enlightenment. And I wanted to get your idea on all of this idea of the universal mask.
Well, absolutely, and thank you, too, for that wonderful intro and the beautiful music at the beginning. it fits in so perfectly to the topic. There's a lot of real growth that's happening amongst humanity right now, and part of that is the integration and incarnation cycle. And I can get very long-winded on this. As you said, I've taught this for a long time. I've also had a great teacher in Treb and his great teacher in Aradith, and they really, really speak a lot about the densities and the dimensions and how we evolve, the evolution of the soul. So I guess the universal mask, the part of incarnating into a place of limitation, is just that. It's a start of a collective consciousness, truly starting off as a eighth density entity known as a star. It physically manifests itself out as a star, and they say, let's create a solar system where we can have a limitation. From the way I understand it, it wasn't just Earth that decided to play into the entire part of what some people refer to as the Luciferian project, which is where physical beings go in and say, hey, let's separate ourselves from Source so we can't tell we're part of Source. And Earth is just, although Mars and Venus have both played and integrated, I think humans in general mastered it. So we really are going into that technique of learning how to first separate ourselves, then reconnect. So it's a beautiful, beautiful process.
Right. It's just, to me, it's just amazing to think of our spiritual evolution in terms of a play. You know, one of the first things that I had a channeling within my own self as a small child walking around in the forest was I was just pondering the meaning of life and what is the meaning, and the feeling I got, it's this divine game that we're playing, and our goal is to actually wake up outside of the actor and the stage and remember who we truly are. It is an essence of becoming the bad actor. So I think it's really fun. This is the original intention was to come and play and expand. It gives us a way to explore ourselves in a way that otherwise we wouldn't, because as the one, we were unlimited beings, or being, however you want to define it. We were unlimited, and we got this really wild idea, hey, I want to pretend like we're limited and gather all this information through contrast and then expand through that. So that's what I felt was a universal mask. And, of course, later on when we take callers, I would love to get your viewpoint, your inputs. You can call it 347-308-8788, and we'll be taking callers in the second hour. So is there anything else you wanted to add pertaining to the universal mask, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people kind of look at our evolution, they look at our chance, they look at our opportunity and choice to incarnate into this reality, and a lot of people are very upset with their choice. They say, why would we come into this area of limitation? Last week you played a clip from Bob, who had a session with an entity within its oversoul. I'm trying to think of the name of the entity. Adful, it was, I think,
yeah.
right?
Yes, I believe it was Adful.
Yeah. Yeah, and that clip played exactly how this stuff works. I mean, when it comes down to it, the entities who are in the fifth and sixth density now, the high fourth density, the ones who have more mastered this, they really look at us in jealousy almost. Not jealousy in the way that we perceive jealousy, but they're very envious of the energy that we have. What a decision to come into a place that has such a divine concept of being able to not know that you're created, not know that you're connected to God or the source, not know that you're a part of one. I mean, realistically, we kick ourselves in the butt all the time and say, oh, man, this is such a rough deal, such a rough life, such a rough time that we're going through. But in all reality, just to be able to hide the oneness, hide the God within ourselves from ourselves, that takes a lot of power. And I know many entities have talked about how much gall and how much power that we have to even be able to do that. So people think, we're limited in certain ways, but we're not. We are such wonderful creators.
Well, and speaking of limitation, there's also the whole concept of time. As we're learning now, it doesn't truly exist. We are actually in a nonlinear time. But going into this more limited format, we get this concept of linear time. And that allows us, for instance, when we incarnate into a particular personality, most of us don't remember former lives and other planets. We have a brain that is going through this, what we perceive to be a slower evolutionary process, all of our energy centers. And it gives us this slow down ability to just really hone in and focus in and find out what it is we're truly passionate about. So that's the funny thing about this mask, because I've been reading many quotes. If you go online and you read about masks, there are some schools of thought where people think it's through the mask that you discover who you really are. For instance, when social media popped out, people were able to get behind the screen and create this whole different personality. But was it really another personality, or was it just another aspect of themselves that they felt safe to explore without the fear of judgment from the collective, you know? And then likewise, we have, I lost my train of thought. What was it, the other mask that I had talked about?
Well, there's the social media mask. There's the mask that we represent, too, in relationships with people. The interesting thing for me when we were talking about this earlier was how you came to even think about this subject.
Oh, I remember. The other school of thought is that we use the mask to hide who we truly are. By the way, guys, going into the fifth dimensional, this is part of it. If you've been losing trains of thought, for all I know, I'm just jumping around in different times. So this is actually one of the things is if you think you're losing your mind, you're not really. You're losing your mask. You get excited by another thought, and I get pulled into others. It's just so amazing. But yes, there are two different kinds of masks that were discussed. If you look in the mainstream, that some schools of thought think that we use the mask, for one thing, and others for another. And I think we ultimately use a universal mask to play and to explore and to expand. So, and Rob, what you brought up before about the collective mask, that's one of the things I want to talk about. I call it the human earth mask, or the earth mask in general, because we do have an overall earth collective here. But before that, I am going to play another segment, a poem that I wrote, which kind of pertains to some human experiences we have. It's a poem that I wrote, and it's called The Beginning of No.
The Beginning of No by Kalina Angell. It's hard to believe you once ran in the rain and jumped in mud puddles. And your mom must have shouted for you not to fall, not to get dirty, not to make a scene. And your mom who meant well, and your tired dad who came home from work, hid his face in books, phonographs, and papers, smoking his pipe, and drinking something you were told was not for children. Because their parents told them no, and their parents' parents told them no, far back into the first no that began in the time of survival and food rations, eat just enough not to starve. We now starve ourselves of love. But here you are, many years later. I see you in the distance coming out of hometown buffet, old and bent over, your daughter mirroring you, growing old and bending over to help you into the car. And it's hard to believe she too once ran in the rain and jumped in mud puddles. And behind her, in your well-meaning intention, taught her the meaning of no.
So that's just one example of what I wanted to talk about, to get into, about the earth mask. And that is kind of a good example of the collective mask and the personal relationship mask, which is that no that we're taught, this idea, this game of limitation that we came into. The majority of us, pretty much all of us listening to this, we're born in the 3D reality, and we are new 5D beings. Rob, are you there?
I'm here with you. Yes, I am.
Oh, awesome. There you are. So what did you think about, what did you get out of the idea, before I delve into the earth mask? What does that mean to you?
Well, to me, the idea of the earth mask is just that. It is the mask that we wear as human beings. As an entity who is graduating from third density to fourth density, however you want to look at it, third dimensional to fifth dimensional, fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional, regardless of what label. In fact, the labels themselves are a representation of sorts of mask as well. And those representations, for me, jumping in from that third to fifth, there are so many masks as a human being that we're losing. Our concentration and thought process on any one mask or any one idea is a variance. It really does depend on each person and each personality, how they present their mask of human being. Some people put on this religious mask. Some people put on a less defined mask. They delve into atheism, science. I mean, there's so many facets of masks that we as humans wear, but to me, the human mask most means who we are in comparison to the universal consciousness. What makes us different from these entities that we are now connecting to, whether it be via channeling or just subconsciously through the oversoul, in any form, in any way, who we are as human beings, and the mask we wear to separate ourselves from the other human beings, in the non-seeing of oneness that we've become to embrace.
That's interesting. It's kind of like when someone is writing a feature magazine article, they have a subject and they want to find an angle. So we are ultimately looking to explore and expand, but this earth mask, or this persona that we come into with each life, it's like we come and we find an angle for that. And what I was pondering about regarding this, the human mask, because we've got the earth collective mask with all the various creatures that live here. Then we've got our own human mask. For instance, the 3D, the ego that filters things through, the part that survives and helps us to survive and manage everything. And so what I thought is I would break it down in terms of collective mask, then the relationship mask, and then the personal mask. And the collective mask, to me, like you had brought up religion, depending on what culture a person has grown up in, there will be certain belief systems that are adopted and carried on there. And so even if an individual has a completely different belief system, say a love marriage versus an arranged marriage, they may decide to go with the collective because they want to be accepted and loved and revered and have a good family name. And that also kind of boils down to the relationship, with the family. A relationship mask is you're a little bit able to be a little bit more intimate with how vulnerable you can be sometimes in a relationship, but sometimes you still will face rejection. And those can be big barriers when you're dealing with the personal, because a lot of times you want to feel that love and that connection, because remember, a lot of us, we start to feel past a certain point in childhood when we're giving these social cues in the collective and our relationships, that we start to feel like we have to earn love and respect. So we must abide by the collective masks and the relationship masks. Like, for instance, when you have a job, you feel like you have to be professional. You can't say curse words. You can't dye your hair purple in certain circumstances. And then when it comes to relationships, sometimes you might feel like, I can't really bring up this particular topic to my loved one because they might not like that. You know, for instance, when a teenage daughter is going through her sexuality, her parents might flip out if she comes up and brings that topic up to her parents. And so this boils down into the personal as well, the personal relationship with our mask. We often adopt masks even for our own selves because we don't want to, we fear that maybe we are bad in some way because we've gotten these messages from these collective masks that we wear, these relationship masks that we wear. And remember, I had said with the relationship masks, we can be somewhat vulnerable. For most relationships, I feel that we can get somewhat vulnerable, but we can never be truly who we are until we've gotten down into the personal mask, and this is the most important, gone behind that mask and been true to ourselves and love ourselves and not judge ourselves. And it's when you can master this particular personal mask that you can start to really create your own reality. When you start to love and respect yourself, you realize, especially now, that you're truly a 5D being, because I think what's happening is that these personal masks are breaking down. We are having these identity crises, if you will, and it's taking a ripple effect into our relationships. A lot of relationships are splitting up. A lot of relationships are coming together. We're co-creating realities, and even the collective is shifting. Like if you think of it in terms of grid working too, sending the negative energy down to the earth where it distributes to, wherever it needs to be for the positivity, sending energy up into the grid. We are awakening as a 5D consciousness slowly, but it gets scary because as I had explored in last week's show, the shift, SHIFT, or you can look at it the other way, has hit the fan. Our egos are afraid, and a lot of people think of egos as a bad thing, but it's not. It's this wonderful tool that's been there to help you to survive. It's been there to help you with the limitation. It's like a program. It's part of one of the masks that you wear, and it's scared, and it's something that you want to love and caress and stroke into and say, it's okay. What are we going to do? We're going to find out our highest excitements, and we'll be talking about how we do that by following our heart and integrating our higher selves. So, Rob, you and I had talked about exploring this just through the chakra system, which, of course, we know are energy vortexes in the body. And so we had decided to start with the lower three chakras with this particular segment, with the human mask. Yeah. And so for the root chakra, what do you think it means to you pertaining to collective, relationship, and personal in terms of the masks that we have in the root chakra?
Well, the masks that we incorporate to the root chakra are probably some of the most prominent masks that ones will wear. There is a sense, especially in the Western collective, that has an affinity to always protect your social status. It always protects your financial status. A term that we use in this all the time is keeping up with the Joneses. And that's what the first chakra is. It's the safety, which includes financial, physical. It's our sense of being. And so many people are stretching themselves out from week to week, living on budgets that are so poorly made because they want to appear to be different than what they are financially. They want to appear to be driving the nice cars and having the nice house when they can't afford to do that. So they'll throw up a huge mask just so that they can feel as if they are part of the collective. They can feel like they are not less than those around them. And I think that's one of the most prominent ones, especially here in America and the Western society, European society.
Right.
So many people are worried about that.
Or they'll even revel in it, with the victim consciousness, creating by those masks, those circumstances that we might find ourselves in with the root chakra and the masks we wear within the root chakra, wanting to be able to survive, to be able to have food over our house. A lot of times I had given an example, we talked about this the other day, say, and this is also connected with, the third and, the fourth and the fifth chakras, but I had given an example. Let's say there's someone who really loves music, and that's their dream, but, the collective says, hey, musician, please, you're not going to make any money. That's crazy. Then you're in school and you find, hey, I'm really good with accounting and finances. I don't particularly care for it, but hey, I'm good at it. So then you decide, okay, I guess I'll do that. And a lot of that stemmed from that survival instinct. Hey, I need to have money. I need to do this. This is what the collective said. They must be right. And I have seen starving artists, musicians, and a lot of times it's because we buy into that collective belief. Even I did at one time, jokingly saying, well, I'm a writer and I'm supposed to just be broke because that's how creative people are, and that was a mask that I held. And instead of, realizing, hey, I do have the ability to create my own reality, to shift into a better reality, and do what I truly want. So I do feel like that is one of the masks that we wear. Was there anything you wanted to add in addition to that root chakra as far as masks go pertaining to collective relationship or personal?
Well, sure. In relationships even, especially in relationships with significant others, one of the feelings, especially in the masculine energy, there always has to be a projection of, hey, we're okay financially, we're okay where we're living. The neighborhood might have high crime, but I'm here to protect you. It's my job as a man. The masculine energy really projects that outwardly, and I think that they are not the only offenders, but the largest offenders of projecting a mask when it comes to that specific idea. Feelings of safety are very important for the men to try to project that to the female and to their children, to whoever they feel that they have to protect. So they'll put that mask on. I know in my own life I have had financial issues before where I was very, very concerned, but the people around me I could never show that concern to because I felt as a man it was my responsibility to keep that smile on and say, hey, everything's going to be okay. The house bill will get paid. This will get taken care of. That's a huge one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're a mask, and I notice there's always a big overlapping with the first three chakras. I feel that even as, when you're born into the role as a woman, you get these cues from the collective and in relationships that, aside from the little things about being in the kitchen to the commercial showing all the cleaning products and, but then there's the whole, what I'd brought up a little bit earlier was the sexuality and the fear of even being able to go out. Like I loved when I lived in Long Beach, California, I always took what I perceived to be a risk by walking out on the ocean, like not on the ocean, but by the ocean. I said that last week too. It was really funny. I haven't quite gotten to that level of Christ consciousness yet, folks. Haven't tapped into that. I walked by the ocean. Yes. I walked by the ocean, but I always was able to somehow tap into safety when I was exploring my 5D self. And, you want to make sure you really are tapped into that because there are things that, get triggered in a woman feeling like she can't go out and really express herself for fear that she might be in danger. So that cuts into her personal relationship with herself, her relationship with others, people saying, no, you shouldn't go, which ripples out into the collective. That is a really good segue into the second chakra, which has to do a lot with sexuality and creativity. This is a big one, and this is one that gets an awful lot of abuse sometimes in some spiritual communities. These lower three chakras are often perceived as less than, and they're not. They're absolutely just as holy and wonderful as the higher chakras because they are a part of who we are, and they are a big aspect of having this earth experience. So, Rob, what are your thoughts on the second chakra pertaining to collective, relationship, and personal masks, the human mask?
Well, absolutely. I think that this is probably the biggest one. This one we could have hours and hours of conversation on just the mask of sexuality. Second chakra relates also to that excitement and thrill-seeking behavior that we have. A lot of people wear masks, and this one tends to be in the Western society. Again, instead of a masculine thing, it's a feminine thing. Women are taught when they're young that if you feel high in the sexual energy, you're a whore, you're a floozy, you're a slut. If you explore that sexuality as a female, you're not okay. And the men are able to do it in any capacity that they wish. They could sleep with several women in a week, and that's okay. And that's one of the big masks that women have to wear. If they're highly sexual in nature and they want to sleep with someone just to sleep with them, they have to put on a mask to society, the friends, family, everything. And when they act on that when they act on that desire, then they really have to put the mask on. Then they really have to walk around. And I know as a female, this is a very huge burden on so many females I know.
Oh, yeah, especially going into the personal mask, hiding from yourself, judging yourself, because as we know, ultimately, whether it is something that someone wants to explore, male or female, one-night stand, or something a long life through, no matter what, it's still two souls touching. But the collective will teach you that there's a right way and a wrong way, rather than just the exploration and the consent between two human beings, regardless of their gender. It could be a man and a man, a woman, and that's a whole other topic, when we're dealing with the second chakra. Now, second chakra, of course, also has to do with reproduction and creativity. I had brought up the example before of the musician who decided to become an accountant. There's nothing wrong with that if that's your dream. I know someone who absolutely loves his job. That's his highest excitement, and I'm very excited for him. There are a lot of people who are exploring and being in professions they'd rather not be because of the first chakra experience. But then there's the second chakra in that too, which has to do with a level of creativity. And we don't just give birth to our sensuality, our sexuality. We don't just reproduce children, many of us who reproduce children, but we also give birth to ideas, to creations, and this is something, oftentimes women, and again, I'm not trying to get too, these again are the masked women with the relationships, often put relationships ahead, and then a lot of times men will, their baby often is, whatever they're creating, and of course that mask is dissolving because we're finding that our souls are neither male nor female, and we're able to really dive into this vast, beautiful orange chakra that is just exploding with this lovely ability to create, no matter what it is, and to express. And it's a very important center when we get from that beautiful ruby red chakra, expressing that fully, knowing that the universe is safe is really helpful. Running that through and letting the ego know that as it starts to give in to allowing the power over to the heart and the higher self as you integrate into your 5D being self. Now we get into the third chakra, and this is a big one, I feel, for the mask, because it's this beautiful yellow, bright yellow chakra, and it has to do with your sense of self. But how do you know who you are if you're wearing a mask? But sometimes, remember, if for anybody who listens to the Abraham Hicks material, that sometimes it's these contrasts. you're bumping up against all these no's and don't do this and, whatever, these experiences, this buffet of all these experiences and choices, so that you can have the opportunity to find out what it is you're really excited about. And ultimately, it's about you giving yourself permission to be what I call a polite rebel. You're not just like, hey, I'm not going to do this because the collective, poo on you and whatever, forget you. I'm just going to, cause a ruckus. It's more like, I respect you. I love you. Your religion, your whatever. But this is who I am, and I love you. But this is who I am, and I love myself too. And knowing that you have that right, and so you instead take off the borrowed beliefs, the masks, and you take in this lifetime of 5D a blank mask for yourself, and you paint it to resemble the idea of who you want to explore. You get to create your own persona. You get to create and direct your own life. I don't care if you're 82 years old right now. You can start from there. If you're 5 years old listening to this, you can start from there too. Especially get the glitter out, and literally just explore who is it you want to be, and give yourself permission, but first forgive yourself. That's how I'm feeling with this third chakra mask, that these different masks, these roles that we play, and give yourself permission, keep the ones you want, and then just think about it. Whatever it is that you want to explore within yourself, and it's okay, because this is the ultimate. Taking off the mask within yourself is where it all begins. Loving yourself is where it all begins. So, Rob, did you want to add anything regarding the third chakra mask?
Yeah. There's lots going on in this one. Like you said, this one's a huge one. The third chakra also represents backwards, forwards into time. It represents the me versus the rest of you. This is where a lot of us have to build masks, because we're in the illusion of separation. So we have to make what makes me me. And as we'll talk about later, I'm sure there are multiple variety and magnitude of masks that we have that separate just our own personality and ego from the rest of us. But let's just take that aspect of time. So many of us wear these masks in the present because we feel that we have to from what we went through in the past. Well, I am a person who must wear this mask now because when 10 years ago, I used to be a bad person. I used to be an evil person. I used to be a nasty person. So they bring that mask forward through guilt, and they put it on their face this day. Well, I'm a used to be bad person, so I still have to wear this mask. So many people hold on to that past, or project even so in the future, where they're looking so far into the future. They're saying, well, I must be this. So I have to be this, as it's a part of the rule to be something further. Example, people who are well-educated, going through college, going through school, they say, well, I am going to be a doctor, so I must play the part now. I must get in these specific classes. Even though for credit I don't have to, that's what all the rest of the doctors do. I have to go to this country club because of this. I have to do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it continues on, so on and so forth.
Wow. Yeah, and and I was also thinking too, this example that I had earlier about the dream, when it comes to this 3D and the ego, which is filtering through, and it is scary, the ego having to get rid of this identity is scary. There's always that part of many people that wants to hold on to the mask because it's like, okay, so I have to recreate, then who am I without this? Like for me, there was a period of time where I was so depressed and feeling so much of an outcast and in my own little victim consciousness, that when I began to learn to love myself, and of course I'm still on that journey. I think in some ways, if you're incarnated here, you are on that journey of self-love. I just realized that I had to learn to integrate that within myself and just allow that period of being a little bit afraid but also excited to realize that whatever is going on inside of my personal self, whatever it is that I'm creating, is going to be reflected outside of me. And this is where, when I was in my victim state of consciousness, I was often very connected as a child, and then I got a bit disconnected. I get bits and pieces of information. And then I would feel like, I love you, God, universe, this higher source that I could always feel. And I felt like, I would start to work on something, and then shit, as an SHIT, would hit the fan in my perception, and I would think, why did that happen? Is the universe against me? And that's part of the dream, that feeling, when you have a dream and it's not a lucid dream and it just feels like everything's happening to you, that's that feeling of limitation and separation. And it gets to the point where you just get so tired of whatever it is. Everybody has their breaking point. For me, I was just sick and tired of being in the dream, and I really just got tired of having a certain perception, and I decided, what if? It was a what if moment. What if I love myself? What if I didn't give all my power over to others and try to get respect and love from the collective and then from relationships? And what if I just focused on the personal first and gave myself permission, because I'm a person too, right? So, and that is where I began to unravel these borrowed belief systems, these masks that I had adopted and found they weren't truly my own to begin with. Was there anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, I think we covered a lot on that, honestly. I think,
we covered a lot with those first three. Well,
sure.
I am going to segment into the next topic, but before I do that, I'm going to share a poem that I wrote that has to do with an invitation to my higher self. And then that's going to relate to the next topic that we're going to get into. And it was literally right after I wrote this poem, my higher self wasted no time. So I thought I'd share it, because if it's something that can help you all, any kind of a meditation, take it, anything that we can do. I'll go ahead and play it now. We love you guys, and we'll be right back.
An Invitation for My Higher Self by Kalina Angell. Dear Higher Self, I am unhappy without you. I long to know the merging that we are. Even my ego chants for your blessed presence. My brain creates endless swirls of thoughts enveloping the wonder of you. My heart pulses with ecstatic joy at the remembrance of your embrace with your shard self, your water droplet of light. Won't you join this small shard of me? That personality self you so lovingly crafted. That role you spun for me to play on earth. Sometimes I remember you a bit, dear soul, because I'm somewhat a dismal actor in this world, pretending I'm this face, this name in the sleep we call alive. Fluttering remembrances of our oneness, then my amnesia of feeling separation from you and all beings. Those shards of other selves, higher selves, who are greater shards of the highest self, who are us, collectively. Then I forget again and remember again. And then my heart aches at the confusion of connection and communication. Telepathy on mute between most human incarnated souls whilst between the slumbers. This strange dream of separation and limitation. I don't want to play this part anymore like this, slipping in and out of my conscious coma while you observe my experiences with compassionate smiles, fascination, and a patient waiting for my invitation. Little volcanoes of consciousness erupt, shaking all the colors within me enough to awaken, just a little, just enough to remember fragments, not enough to merge with you again. Higher self, become me, engulf me, rejoin your small shard self. I am ready to die, to live. Embody this body with me. Fill up every atom, every cell, every bone, organ, skin. Push up the kundalini and spin each chakra until this little body is so full that your radiant love spills over and ripples and streams, tapping each person, animal, plant, reminding them of one. Higher self, the door to my heart is open now. Be me. This poem was written on March 29th, 2013.
All right, everybody. So that was a big pinnacle in my life because boy, did my higher self begin the journey and always has been there, just waiting for me to invite it to integrate in. And I have been reopening and integrating ever since, and just in a wonderful time. You know, as you know, we all know about the December 21st, 2012 is, to me, it's a representation of us shifting into that spiritual evolutionary phase into our fifth dimensional selves. And this is a wonderful time to be in. We're in a sweet spot. We were born as third dimensional people. We are shifting into fifth dimensional people. And in some ways, I already believe that we are 5D. It's just we keep recreating a lot of times these 3D experiences. So, Rob, are you there with us?
Yeah, I'm here, and that poem was very, very powerful because it represents everything that all of us can be if we choose to do it, and that ascensional energy, climbing up consciousness, whatever you want to call it, whatever label, mask you want to place on it, what it is expansion, and it's gorgeous. I love that poem. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, thank you. Well, for me, you know, there's a line where I had talked about even my ego or my 3D self was craving that. It just got to the point where it's scary, but it's exhilarating. You go from it being fearful to exciting, and just a very, very curious thing. And I think that's another thing that's sparking in us as new 5D beings. We're going from the dream to the lucid dream, as an example, where we're realizing, hey, I can co-create my own reality, shift into the preferred realities without even bumping into other wills, and just having this wonderful time to expand and explore. It's one of the sweet spots where begin to realize that we are not our mask, we are not our characters, but we still get to play, much like little children. We're pretending, and we're heading back into that slow progression of becoming one again, but not quite. Because one thing that I'd forgotten to mention about the universal mask, this idea that we're one, and then we split into these oversouls, and then these oversouls split into higher selves, and then fractals, and those fractals decided to explore certain personality selves. And it's just meant to be very fun, but now we're getting into this point where we are waking up to realize that we are much more than our fractal selves, but we don't really want to wake up super fast because, what's the fun in that? We want to go on all these adventures, we want to explore the Earth experience. In this case, some of us will, probably all of us will go off, will explore other planetary systems, other things that we don't even know exist, can't even put it in words because it just would be seemingly impossible. That's how exciting it is. But what do I mean in relation to this 5D Earth experience mask? Well, I had mentioned the integration of the higher self. And how does it happen? It happens by following your heart. And your heart is the one that knows best. Rob, I believe you have a wonderful quote. I think Trev said it. That has to do, if you follow your heart,
Absolutely,
you can never be led wrong, and you will go into your own truth, whatever is true for you, whatever you want to explore and to express, because that is what we are. We are all universal beings of light and love. And the heart is the gateway that runs all of, for instance, even just our chakra systems that we're talking about. Our heart is even the doorway to the throat chakra. Like the throat chakra having to do with speaking our own truth, we can't really do that until we process it in the heart. The heart is so intelligent, and in the 3D world, we talked about how awesome the brain and intellect is, but the heart is the one that feels its way into the truth. It's the one that connects the intellect and the intuition, is able to connect and integrate all parts of yourself. It's the part where you can integrate both your ego here that helps to keep you in this particular time and space, and your higher self. It's the place where the higher self comes and integrates with that personality self that you came to explore and express. And so that, to me, is part of integrating into the heart chakra, the 5D Earth experience mask. Rob, did you want to add anything to this particular chakra, the beautiful heart chakra?
Well, absolutely. The quote that you were talking about earlier, I have that one with me at all times, and
Yay!
It's a beautiful quote. And Trev once said, actually, in the first book that we had done with Jefferson, he said and alluded to that if you follow your heart's connected directly to your higher self and to your soul.
Yes.
Your soul knows better than anyone for you. It knows better than the wisest or longest living entity in the universe, because it is you. It's a part of you, and it is what you need. So follow your heart, and you'll never be led wrong. And, I mean, what more can be said than that? It's beautiful.
Oh, that's perfect.
Segue. Yeah, absolutely. It's a beautiful understanding that heart is the most important thing, and your heart doesn't wear masks very well.
Nope, does
unless
not.
you choose. Yeah, if you choose to say, hey, I'm not going to follow my heart, then you'll always have a mask on. And when you're following your heart, I mean, you never can wear a mask when you do.
Well, it's like it's patiently waiting because it knows, because your heart is that spot within you, your true higher heart, that knows who you are. There have been many times when I was in my own victim state of consciousness where I'd call myself names and beat up on myself, and sometimes I do slide a little bit into that role every now and then because I'm a perfectionist, and, what I perceive to be a perfectionist, is one of my masks. And whenever I call myself names and bully myself because I never can, quite live up to that, or that's a belief system that I can't live up to that level of perfection, I beat up on myself and call myself names, and then my heart is always saying, you know better. You are a beautiful being of love and light, and you're one. And just like anyone else here, the one could not exist without each and every fractal, each and every higher self, even each and every oversoul, every bit, no matter what role you're playing, if you're the most perceived to be horrible, horrendous, evil person, or the best amazing saint, prophet in the world, doesn't matter. You're precious, and the heart will always remind you. The heart is never, never cruel to you, mean to you. That's that one spot that you can always go to, and that is also the spot where your higher self resides, because that's where it dominates. And I feel that the fifth dimensional reality is the place of the heart. This is where we are learning the heart intelligence. And that leads up into the fifth chakra, being able to speak your truth. And for me, because I perceived myself as different, I was, very intuitive growing up, connecting, even, channeling within my own self with entities and beings, but I hid it away from others so I could speak some of the truth within my own self, but I didn't feel safe enough to do it outwardly into the collective in many relationships, point where it got to where I wouldn't even trust myself on a personal relationship, and it became jumbled. And it's something that is, as we speak, is opening up now, which is great because a lot of us are going through this together. Many of us, especially with the harmonic convergence in 1987, if I remember correctly. Yes, 1987, we were, opening up. I was a little kid. I was going through all these, speaking with entities and beings. And at that age, it's hard for people to understand if you're just, playing as a kid. And oftentimes I think that's never just playing as a kid. There's a lot of communication that comes through, versus, someone who's making these connections. And so the way that I spoke my truth was through writing, but I wouldn't really share them. I would even talk into a cassette tape, and perhaps in the future I'll share some of these with you guys when I was very young. But it was a way for me to at least express the truth to myself and to these other entities and share my love. As I got older, I began to question myself and question my truth, because I started looking and hearing these other spiritual teachers and gurus, if we will, and I thought, well, perhaps they know more than I do. They say that they're enlightened, so maybe I don't know as much as I thought I did, and I began to kind of shut down because I wasn't following my heart. But when I was younger, if I picked up a book, I could read a line and my heart would just jump up, almost kind of do this dance, if you will, and I could feel what was true for me in that particular part of my growth. And that is so connected to the throat chakra, being able to express yourself to yourself and to others if you wish. But just living in your own truth with yourself is enough. You don't have to stamp against the ground and tell everybody this is the way it is for me. And, unless you want to. You can, but I think it's very important that we are able to express ourselves without the fear of what others think. And I know that can be very, very hard. For me, I'm a sugarcoater. If something happens or I feel like my space has been invaded or whatever it is, that's that other mask, Southern girl, raised in North Carolina. I got to sugarcoat everything. I got to be sweet. I can't be, a bitch. I'm afraid of being perceived in that way, and that's another mask. But what does that do? It shuts my ability down to communicate. But if I am communicating through my heart into my throat, how can I go wrong? Right? I'm communicating with my unconditionally loving heart. And if someone perceives it in a different way, that's okay, because what does that do? It just shows a reflection of where I am within my own belief systems, but at the same time, it allows that person to be triggered in the way that they need to help them to go up into their next evolutionary phase. What are your thoughts
absolutely.
on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely correct. And one part of the throat chakra that a lot of people overlook, too, is the idea of wisdom. That's where we hold the wisdom in our consciousness. So when we look at that idea alone in the mask we bring, this is a huge mask, and this relates back to the safety feeling. It can correlate a lot with the first chakra. A lot of people use religion as a safety net, and they do that in their wisdom. They'll hear something that in their hearts they cannot believe is proper. They hear a story like Jonah and the whale, where this man's swallowed by a whale because God was angry at him for not teaching his teachings in another land. And this whale travels with him alive in his stomach and then spits him out right in the place where God wants to be. Now, there are many, many Christians who take this story with a grain of salt, but yet they will tell you out of their own mouth, this is the truth. It has to be. It's in the Bible. The Bible is God's word. This is what, in their hearts, they know that that story never happened. They know that that is not a truth. They know that that's a fable or a story that's given as some sort of morality that they should be using. Listen to what God says, preach his word at all costs, or bad things will happen to you. So now they have taken this truth that they know is not true and spoken it. This wisdom that they know that they are judging, but yet they're letting it through to their mouth anyways. This has the wisdom aspect, it has the heart-to-mouth aspect, and it also has a feeling of safety. They feel as if they need this specific idea to keep them safe. They feel that they need to represent something that in their hearts they know isn't true, because that is the wisdom part that they choose to encompass. They say, I am Christian. I will live in the Christian truth, even though they know in their heart that that's not true. So many Christians you talk to will say, well, the Bible could possibly be filled with parables and fables, which to me means they don't believe it, but they will speak that at all costs because they need to wear that mask, that protective layer. And I think that that's a huge part of the throat chakra.
Right. And I also want to say it's okay if a person chooses to continue to wear these masks. It's totally fine. The heart center doesn't mind, and if it's something that you agree with, if you feel in the moment that that's what you want to express, that's perfectly okay. There's no right or wrong. After all, it's all about having an adventure and expanding and having the earth experience. And these masks or personality selves that we come to explore is a big part of it that I feel. Then we go up into the third eye, and I feel like this is something that we have stifled, especially a lot in the 3D. Oftentimes when we're children, we're able to see and experience ghosts or, loved ones that have crossed over, or hear things and see little traces of things, and then we're told, well, no, those are not real, or, such and such happened and it's just a dream. It doesn't mean anything. And so we start to close down that particular communication center that connects us with not just within the earth, but the more etheric realms, the other dimensions that we can tap into. And I feel like this is a time when it is like it's a bud. It was a bud, or even a seed and a root, and now it's a bud at this stage. I feel like with a lot of us in the 5D, and it's just beginning to open. If you water it with the love and also with learning to speak your truth, even if it's just the truth of yourself, that's just accepting and loving yourself with your own is perfectly enough to help see this particular bud begin to open up and be able to see and hear and experience more. You realize that you have much more than 5 senses. And Rob, you are especially a good example to talk about this. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about the third eye chakra.
Well, absolutely. The third eye chakra is a lot of things. As you said, it's that ability to perceive what is not normally perceived in the 5 senses that we're told we have, and that in itself is being projected with masks over it all the time by people.
The Maya mask, not being able to see the illusion, but being able to pierce in that big kind of mask that drops down, like the curtain, if you will.
Well, absolutely, and that's the part too that a lot of people kind of have been saying. I've heard in the last 3 years. Since I've been out there in the public talking to people, they say it's so sad that people are covering this up and they're not tapping into that part. But it's not really sad. It's a part of progression. All of us have to open it eventually, if not in this lifetime, then in another, and if not in that one, then other. So it is something that all of us will get to eventually. But the idea is that in covering this, you're covering a part that's truly you, and once you're able to tap into it, so many greater things come to you. The mask that I decided to drop is when I said, hey, I want to learn about what's after this physical life. And my obsession with that idea, my consistent moving forward allowed me to, I didn't want a mask there anymore. I said, I am tired of this mask. And it took me a couple years, but through my highest excitement being in that one idea alone, I want to see what's afterlife. I want to know what's beyond the veil. My excitement led me to that version of my truth, to my own perception on that idea, and that's what led me to Treb. So it is an amazing journey if you want to take that journey, if you want to release the mask of, well, we're here on Earth, this is what we get, we will never get. I mean, I've had such good friends who have came and gone in the spiritual community because they said, well, I'm meditating 3 times a day. I'm meditating 5 times a day. I'm trying to do what you do, Rob, and I can't do it, so I quit. And it's never that they couldn't do it. It's because they perceived it as a hardship. They perceived it as a struggle, and they perceived it as something difficult, and that's why they ended up getting that result with it.
Yeah, not trusting themselves enough to follow their heart and speak their own truth and know that you are simply reflecting in them a version of what they want to see, but we all have our own way of expressing it. It's always got its own spice or flavor, if you will, and if you think of it in terms of the collective soup, you don't want everybody to be cumin or everybody to be salt or everybody to be ginger. You want everybody, everybody has their own spice, if you will, to bring to the table so that collectively it's this incredible, delicious food, whatever it is, if you will, that we all add to the table. We have our own particular flavor to offer, and that's something to honor. I'm noticing the time, so I'm going to get right into the crown chakra, and that doesn't really have a mask. This is something that we, once we have gone through and uncovered and really explored, I feel the mask that covers up the crown chakra is about integrating. I feel like this is a lot where the higher self steps in, and the heart is the gateway, and it moves all this energy around, and the crown chakra is where we really get to fully integrate our 5D selves. And I do want to remind that I feel like all the chakras are equally, they are equal. They all have their wonderful energies. They're like these beautiful notes that harmonize with each other. And, of course, we go beyond the 8 chakras, but these are the main ones we'll talk about. Rob, what is your take on the crown chakra pertaining to our 5D Earth experience?
Well, absolutely. I think everything you said was right on the money. And in addition to that, I think you're right in the way that there's actually really 2 schools of thought here. The school of thought that says when you get to the crown chakra, you have no mask left because you have reached that connection back to oneness, or the idea that the 7 chakras where the mask originated. Once we broke off of that oneness, we had to have a mask in order to separate ourselves. So I think that last mask barrier lies somewhere either at the beginning between the 6th and 7th or above the 7th, where we have to say, hey, even as an oversoul, we have a mask. We're not connected to all that is. There's so many layers when you go into the higher densities, from 7th density to 3rd to 12th are all separate consciousnesses from Creator, so they're still not connected all the way into the one, but they have the perception of one. So either way you look at it, you're either having a mask, the final mask, or not having any mask at all. But either way, once you've reached that crown chakra in your excitement, once you've reached that point, this is what breaks all barriers, and you get to see what oneness truly looks like.
Yep, and I think it's a wonderful sweet spot, too, because at the same time you get to have a fully integrated Earth experience. It's just a wonderful, you realize that you're not just the actor, you are the director, you're the writer of the screenplay, you're everything. It's wonderful. It truly is like a lucid dream. And this is that part of your fractal, this life right now, that you're going to bring back to not just your higher self to integrate, but to your oversoul and to the oneness as well, your own personal spin on this particular fractalized life. Now, noticing we have 42 minutes left, I am wanting to play a clip. It's about 13 minutes long, and in that time, we are going to have Rob bring in Treb. He channels Treb, who is a benevolent reptilian hybrid, very, very loving being from the Capella star system. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this clip from Nora Harold, who channels the 12th dimensional Pleiadian beings and the collective. And I feel like it's a good wrap-up to what we've talked about prior to this. Then we're going to bring in Treb for about, maybe 10 minutes, depending on how much time we have, to get his spin on what we discussed tonight. And then we are going to bring Rob back and take callers. So without further ado, Nora Harold, an incredible channeler. I'll play her clip. If you find resonance with her, you can find her on www.noraharold.com.
We'll tell you that from our perspective, there is only one ultimate truth that we hold to, and that is that everyone is comprised of love. Everything in the universe is comprised of love. It is the building blocks for the universal experience. You are source energy. There is not a single speck of energy, whether it appears to be light or dark, that is anything but love. That is anything but source. we really want you to take this piece with you back into your day-to-day reality, because you still play the game here on the planet of the good guys and the bad guys. And sometimes you believe so much in the game that you begin to believe the bad guys are comprised of darkness. They're not. They are love, expressing itself as darkness so you can better see the light. Because in a dualistic reality, as you have here, where you have light and dark, left and right, male and female, on and on, you cannot have light without the dark. You would not be able to understand yourself. And every single one of you listening to this information, taking it in, experiencing it right now, you have certainly had your dark adventures. Take a breath and really feel the truth of that. Oh, lighten up, everyone, as you process this piece of information, because you often feel like, oh, it's the lifetimes where I was killed or raped or persecuted that give me the most trouble. No, we would say to you it's the lifetimes where you killed, you raped, you persecuted that give you the most trouble, because you still carry shame and guilt and fear that you might choose to go in that direction again. Take a breath. And think about right now all of those that you would choose to call the villains in your current reality. And in this moment, choose to see them as beings of love and light. Whoever they are, whether they be politicians, a parental figure, the Anunnaki, whatever you want to call them, whatever you're projecting onto them, choose to see them right now as beings of love. This is your job as a light worker. This right here is your number one assignment in this lifetime. To remember that you are love and that all is love. Take a breath. So how do you walk around the planet all day long, every day, operating from this place, remembering that this is true? It's challenging, yes. And none of you are going to do it all the time. And there's not that expectation being run by any of us that you will. There's not that expectation being projected onto any of you. In fact, what we see is the ones who are projecting the greatest kind of expectation on yourselves are you. Very hard on yourselves here on this planet, because the ego mind likes to run an incredible amount of judgment. And as soon as the ego mind or the third dimensional personality activates and begins to respond from its own trauma, because that's where judgment comes from, trauma. As soon as you activate your trauma, you begin to run these judgments about the people around you and about yourself. And remember that anything you're judging around you is a reflection of the self, because all of you are the same. You are love manifesting itself into a myriad of reflections so you can understand yourselves as love. Take a breath. Shake your bodies out again and feel yourselves as love and joy. So this lifetime has been quite a ride for all of you so far, because you're not having the regular old earthly experience. So we're going to shift topics here just a bit and talk about the shift that's underway that you're all aware of. And for those of you who aren't fully aware of it, well, we'll catch up quickly right now. So there is a dramatic shift at hand happening in humanity and within Earth itself. As we said earlier, you are running these experiences in tandem. And this is the big news, that a collective consciousness calling itself humanity and a collective consciousness calling itself Earth. That's right. Think about that. Feel that. Let go of that idea of Earth as a singular being and instead begin to relate to Earth as a collective consciousness itself. How could it be anything but? Look at the incredible amount of life that grows up from that being you've referred to as a singular being. Begin to relate to Earth as a collective consciousness, and you will begin to have a much more enjoyable experience here on the planet as you begin to see the many facets of that collective consciousness that makes up Earth. Now begin to expand that outwards. Think about what you've got in your skies, all those other celestial beings, and begin to understand them as collective consciousness. you begin to understand our experience now, the 12th dimensional Pleiadian collective, us as a collective consciousness that can appear in this moment to have one voice, one singular voice, but in actuality we are comprised of millions of beings of light coming together, having a collective experience. Take a breath, all of you. So in this lifetime, you decided that you were going to, along with Earth, shift from a third-dimensional version of reality to a fifth-dimensional version of reality. So what does that mean in real and practical terms? Well, as we said earlier, the third-dimensional version of Earth shows you that time runs on a line, meaning there's a past, a present, a future. Third-dimensional Earth shows you that matter is solid, so as much as Nora might want to try, she can't put her hand through the stalk of this tree, not in the third dimension, not running a third-dimensional mind. Nora can't do that. You have these separation of gender that you play with here in the third dimension. So there's male and there's female, and there's a big differentiation between the two, as you all know. Physically, mentally, emotionally, you project so much onto your separation of gender here. And you really had fun with this in the third dimension. You have had so much fun pretending to be a boy or pretending to be a girl. And then pretending to be a girl who wishes she were a boy, pretending to be a boy who wishes he were a girl. And you've had so much fun with sexuality as well here in this reality, taking on identifiers as heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, transsexual, on and on and on. You've got to understand that Earth is like the all-you-can-eat buffet of experiences in the universe. You got to come here again and 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 do anything you wanted. And then you'd leave. And as you would leave that incarnation and take your essence back to the higher realms, you wouldn't take any of the experience with you. Well, we often see you struggling with this piece. You have serious conflict with somebody in this lifetime, in an incarnation, where you will have serious conflict. And then you can't even imagine reconnecting with the one you had conflict with in the higher realms. Well, what we'll say to you is those that you play that conflict out with on Earth are your best friends in the higher realms. Think about when you were kids and you would play cops and robbers, right? You'd play these games with your best friends and you would try to kill each other in your games, right? You were fully invested in the experience of hunting each other down, hide and seek, tag, whatever it was, you were out to get your friend. And then mom says, time for a treat, and you drop your toys and run in and you have a treat together and you don't take the game with you. Children do not take those games with them back into their quote-unquote real experience. Well, that's a metaphor for the series of incarnations you've had here on the planet. And just like with children, just like when you were children, you all remember how much fun it was to be the bad guy. Think about that. That was always the role that looked the most interesting to all of you, mostly because so many of you were trying to be good all the time. So it was an opportunity to blow off all of that energy and be bad and make a mess. And we see you still operating the same way right now in your lives. Many of you hold yourselves to this impossible standard of goodness, of niceness, and you put it on like a costume, and it begins to constrict and shut you down until you explode, and then you create a situation in your life that causes you terrible conflicts where you're on the floor in a heap, and you're on that floor in a heap crying because you've stored so much data for so many years trying to be nice, constricting yourself, that you have to give yourself the breakdown to release it all. Take a breath. Yeah. It is not good to be dishonest. It is dishonest to be dishonest. Remember that. There's a way for you all to move about in this world now in a very real way, in a very honest way, where you can still hold your center in the heart. If you put on the costume of goodness, it's going to prevent you from doing that. We want you to take this with you as well, because we often see you all holding back from saying what it is you really want to say, out of a fear that someone will judge you as not being kind, not being generous, not being good. And all you do when you do that is dim your light. You restrict your access, you restrict your flow. Okay, back to the big story at hand. So, you've incarnated here time and time and time and time again. But in this lifetime, the intent was to come here, start your life like a normal earthly experience, so many of you did, and you created relationships and work and family and drama, and then at some point, the energy was going to shift, which was going to allow you to drop into your heart centers, begin to disable the third dimensional mind. And this is going on right now. This is the big experience you're having right now. You're dropping into your heart centers and you're disabling the third dimensional mind. So what does that mean? You're forgetful. You can't remember where you put that thing or what happened on that day. Yesterday feels like 5 years ago, and tomorrow feels like it'll be in a minute. Time is completely eluding all of you, and this is because the third dimensional mind is what you have used to keep yourselves on the third dimension. It's a limiter. The third dimensional mind throws out any extraneous data that tells you you are anything but a third dimensional being or anywhere but the third dimension. So as you dropped into your heart centers and began to operate from the heart as your center, as the computer, as you stopped using the mind as the computer and began to use the heart as the computer, the third dimensional mind began to break down. As the third dimensional mind has begun to break down, the fifth dimensional mind has begun construction. Take a breath, and it's not really construction. We just like to play with images in this way. You already have third dimensional minds, all of you. They don't need to be built. They are there, ready for you to use whenever you feel fully ready to access them. So what will a fifth dimensional mind give you? Well, the fifth dimensional experience will be a mind, heart-centered, connected experience where you will begin to truly transcend all of the limitations you have placed upon yourself in the third dimension.
All right. Who do we have with us right now? Do we have Rob or do we have Treb?
Are you there?
Oh, there you are. Are
All
you
right.
ready to bring Treb in? I apologize. I brought in one of the callers by accident, hit the wrong button. Because I can be silly sometimes without a mask on. So do we get the honor of hearing you with your wonderful oming and toning?
Yes, you do, and here
Wonderful.
it comes. Trev is on his way.
He's on his way, and so guys, this is a trance-channeling version of Treb, and then after that, Rob's been working with the conscious channeling version of Treb, where it's integrated, and when he's in this format, I call him Trob. So first, we'll have the good old-fashioned trance-channeling version of Treb, then we'll bring in Rob and Treb so that they both can speak together. If you have any questions for Treb and or Rob or just comments, you want to talk about the topic right after Treb gives his viewpoint on what we just spoke about. Because, man, I'll tell you, Nora and the 12th Dimensional Pleiadians are incredible. I'm really excited. We didn't ask Treb yet what his thoughts were. We know that he's very excited to talk, so without further ado, let's bring forth the wonderful Trebor Yitney.
All right. We'll see you guys on the other side, and have fun.
All right. Let's bring in that resonant tuning.
Good evening, Kalina.
Aw, good evening, Trev. We're so excited to have you tonight.
Yes, and I'm very excited to be here as well. I know that you have many questions, or at least one question that you wish to ask. So whenever you are ready to begin, you may.
Yes, well, of course, as you know, we know that you have been listening in on our conversation tonight, and we wanted to get the conscious version of you and the trance channel version of you. So first, we wanted to hear what your thoughts are on tonight's topic regarding the mass and the universal mass, the earth mass, the 3D, 5D experience. All of that, we just wanted to get your viewpoint.
Yes, and I'm very happy to share this idea with you. Let us express that, first of all, the concept of mask that you all see and perceive have very many levels. What we mean by having very many levels is that there are facets and degrees of consciousness in which you are able to express. What is a mask and what does it mean? Well, let us express that the mask is an area of consciousness that you wish to express in that moment in any given time. It is not that a mask is being fake or against who you are. It is not that you are hiding something from the collective in any specific degree. But what a mask is an expression of consciousness that you decide to use, an expression of consciousness that is manifested outwardly for other entities to co-create in that moment. There is an expression and an understanding of what it is specifically that brought this concept to your own mind as well as to the host mind. And when you see the host expressing himself to one entity, sharing ideas and concepts, and then you realize that it is not the same version of the host that you are able to experience in that moment when he is connecting to his friend, as it is that it is being as it is expressed when he is connecting to you. You see that perhaps there is two versions of this entity. Yes, this is very true in one way, but let us explore the other concept. The other concept is that in that moment, the host is wishing to express a portion of consciousness that he has, let us say perhaps on standby, when he is not connecting to you in that moment. What this means is he is not pretending or placing an act upon the entity when he is connecting and speaking to his friend. What it means is that there is a portion of the consciousness of the host in every moment, but he is only wishing to connect to that entity, that portion, that fractalized consciousness of himself in a degree when he connects to this co-creator. And as he is expressing himself through various ways and various connections, he is coming in tune with this one specific piece, and when he connects back to you, he is removing his connection with the one piece of consciousness and reconnecting to a portion of consciousness that he is when he is connecting to you. This is much as if the host is channeling my own self as he connects energetically through me, then the portion of consciousness that he understands to be Treb, that all of you perceive as Treb, connects to him, and he co-creates that experience. So a co-creation of separate portions of consciousness in one degree is one idea and one facet of this mass concept. But let us express the more deep thoughts that you have had when it comes to expressions of what masks are in one specific area of connecting to the chakras. When a human in your own third to fourth entity consciousness exchange connects to a very specific portion of consciousness in one degree or another, what you are doing, again, is not necessarily hiding an energy that you are not or becoming more of an energy that you are. What you are doing is very similar as you connect in your own relationships. What you are doing is integrating portions of your higher fractalized self into yourself so that the higher self or the oversoul in full may experience this concept. What am I doing when I am hiding from any specific entity in one case, whether I am projecting that I am not as sexual as I say I am, that I am not afraid to be in this moment when I truly am? What this is an expression of an experience that must be had by the oversoul. It is a feeling as if I must protect my own self from a specific energy of a perception of another entity and a co-creation of what I am truly desiring. This, to your own mind, your own perception, perceives to be hiding or lying. But in the case of these expressions that you are having, as you are very well aware, as the point you have driven home very greatly this evening, is that in each portion of a mask, you are a new portion of consciousness. You are co-creating a new experience from a higher perspective, much as your symbolism and simile that you use as it is a play to be played. This is the concept. In each moment, you are shifting to be a new character. You are shifting to be a separate portion of a co-creation of a larger event that you wish to experience. And this is a very great correlation that you will make with the mass concept to the integration of consciousness in one specific moment for experience sake of higher self as well as the oversoul.
Oh, thank you so much, Trev, for taking the time to share with us your perspective on the masks. And I was wondering if you could stick around and pull forward in Rob's consciousness as an integrated, I like to call you Trob when you guys are in this position. Of course, you always are. And take a couple of callers. Now, we've only got about 16 minutes left in our little linear time on the radio. So would you be able to bring Rob in, and then we will all co-create and experience a conversation with a couple of our callers here who have been waiting for a very long time?
Yes, I would be very excited to connect to the host as he is more conscious so that all of you may speak of these ideas.
Thank you so much, Trev. We love you so much. You know I love you.
Yes, you are very welcome. And as I will not be in the trans-channeling concept, even though I am not disconnecting, I will express the idea that I will leave you all this evening in love and in light, and we will experience each other in a few seconds.
Yay. We'll see you in a second, Trevi. Good night.
All right. How'd everything go?
It's good. So I know we have Rob and then Trob on the line. We have only 15 minutes, so we're going to take a couple of callers. So, and then hopefully you'll be able to get some announcements in so you guys know about all the exciting things coming up.
Sure.
First caller that we have, a dear friend of ours, Savita 352. Are you there?
Hey, I am here.
Hey, very
good.
Hey,
sister.
Hey, how you guys are? This is going really good. And I really want to tell you personally, your last show, the first show, it was so cool. It was such a female energy. Yeah, I mean,
thank you.
Yeah, you know, like you can smell the female energy in that. It was so beautiful.
Well, I do like exploring that personality. So, did you have any other comments or thoughts for Trob, as I like to say?
Yes. I want their comment or thoughts on. It's like it's like a kind of phenomena going on. I think in everybody's life the same thing goes on. Like, you know, I'm in higher vibrations, like I am myself, like a happy self. And then all of a sudden something happens and I just go down to the same poor me concept. So what is the Rob and Trap's thoughts on it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Actually, that's a beautiful point, and I'm bringing that forth from Treb right now. The energy goes out to him, and it's coming back. And in the meantime, I want to say, as soon as your voice popped on, Treb wanted me to tell you hello, and he wanted to say hi to you, Sabita. So, okay, so what Treb's saying right now about this feeling like you keep dipping down and feeling sorry for yourself, there is a part of your conscious self that is very, very understanding of the whole situation of consciousness going up and down. And because you're aware of that, it actually taps into a more sensitive level, a subconscious level of the energy that is within you that knows it goes up and down. So every time you feel the energy starting to dip a little, that gives you a permission slip to go forward and say, well, it's starting to dip. Now I can go back into the ego portion of myself. What he suggests, if you want to avoid this more often, is when you start feeling an energy dipping, instead of just subconsciously allowing yourself, try to reinstate yourself over and over again in your own awareness, in your own mind. Try to use that self-taught mantra, that one that says, you know, I am not going to have to go into my ego to find a lower dip of energy. I can be in any energy in my higher self. And just kind of repeat that, whether you're going to bed at night before you sleep or when you start to feel like a real crappy situation, and just repeat that idea. And when you repeat it, you're reinforcing your subconscious to remove that permission slip and that part of you that says, hey, it's okay to jump into your ego now. You know, you're in this energy that goes up and down. You might as well take comfort in it. So just kind of repeat that to yourself throughout the day whenever you start feeling that energy dip low, and before you go to bed, meditation, whenever you can, just repeat, I know that I don't have to go into my ego when the energy gets lower. I can go into a lower part of my higher self, and I can adjust the energy that way.
Yeah, and I just want to say we love you so much, Savita, and thank you for calling. We know you've been very, very busy lately studying, so thanks for calling. Please call back again soon.
Love you, sister.
Our next caller has been waiting a very long time, too, 832. Are you there?
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Who are we speaking with tonight?
This is Chris.
Chris, hi.
Hey, Chris. How you doing,
good
bud?
To talk to good to talk to everyone. Kalina, Rob, Rick, Brad.
It's a party up in here. So did you have any questions or comments?
Both. Yeah, so you know, I really am resonating with what you said tonight, and I really feel just the way everything you spoke about with all the different chakras, and and the mask that we wear, because I feel that, I guess we all do that. So
Absolutely.
different masks that we wear each and every day to, for instance, in my case, it would be the be nice, because I am from the South. So.
Oh yeah, I totally understand that. I was raised in North Carolina.
So it's very hard to get up there and be speak your mind and voice your, and I worked on that, but I guess the question I have is, and this is going back to what Rob and you guys talked about opening the heart chakra and then also opening the third eye. And how do you know? How do you perceive that you've achieved that?
Okay.
I've lived.
All right. Well, basically, Trev's bringing forth information to me now. So while he's doing that, I'm just going to let you know this is a very common occurrence with all of us who are trying to grow. What Trev says is there's a judgment that's always placed on expansion. A lot of it that it's difficult, that it's hard, that we have to go through something in order to receive that, or that we have to go through hardships to even deserve that. And he wants to let you know that that's not true. It's bullcrap. What he wants you specifically to know is that your heart is big, and that mask you put on your heart, you say, or that nice guy face you put on, is not really a face. It's just a part of your energy. When you judge it, it takes away from the actual ability to move past it. So when you feel like you have to be nice, you don't have to be nice. Just accept who you are in that moment.
Yeah.
Each acceptance that you build is going to be another acceptance of energy, and the more energy you accept, the closer to the third eye. Now, bridging that heart to third eye connection is doing what I did to do it, or at least that's the only perspective I can give you from my own self, my obsession to know what was beyond. So there has to be an excitement. I call it obsession, but it was truly like the highest form of excitement. And Trev is coming in and saying excitement, obsession, it's the same thing if you are happy about it.
And speaking of nice, Chris, I'm sorry I muted your mic a little too early after your question, so I wanted to let you know, oops, I did not mean to do that. And we wanted to thank you for your question and your comments. And we have, 6-7 minutes left, yay, to get into some exciting announcements. Rob, would you like to tell us the calendar of events that's coming up? We have the channel panel, among other things, even something going on tomorrow.
Absolutely. First of all, I want to say that this show is a wonderful show. Thank you, Kalina, for the Earth Experience. Also, that this network is thank you. And this network's a beautiful network. It is the Enlightenment Evolution Network. We have channels 1 and 2. You can find all of the feeds from both channels at facebook.com/Enlightenment Evolution Network, all one word. You type that in Facebook, you'll get to the group, and you can see every show in archived mode and any shows that are up and coming, as well as any event that any of the hosts are in and involved with. First of all, we have an event tomorrow, the 26th. That's at, I believe it starts at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which would be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it goes for 6 to 8 hours. And I will be presenting in between 4:30 and 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dolores Cannon will be there, Robert Potter, Jeffrey Horn, Amelia Benz. Huge, huge event. I will also be making a groundbreaking Trev channeling declaration there, something that Trev channeling has never done. So keep your eyes peeled for that. You can still register at portaltoascension.org. There's also on September 13th from 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or make that, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is the channel panel. This is an event in which the name alludes to. It is a panel of some of the greatest channelers out there. It'll be myself. It'll be Nora Harold, who we heard from tonight. It'll be our Monday evening host, Daniel Scranton. It'll be Brad Johnson. And it will be the one and only John Callie. And for those of you who don't know John Callie by name, you'll know him by face because he did the beautiful documentary, Tuning In, Spirit Channels of America, the original one with Daryl Anka, Lee Carroll, Jeffrey Hoppe. So keep your eyes peeled on that. We're working on a channel panel 2 for next year, and we're going to have the biggest names in the industry there. So keep your eyes peeled at trebchanneling.com. If you want to register for that event, channel panel, you go to trebchanneling.com. It's right at the top of the page. Register here in blue letters. You go to Instant Presenter. You go register there. Enlightenment Evolution Network, their show is every day of the week, and the Channel 2 has a show on Tuesday evenings, and pretty soon we will fill the entire network 2 up within a matter of a month, I imagine. So thank you for having me on, Kalina. Thank you for letting me be a part of your show.
Thank you for being the one who created the ability for all of us to have the shows. I wanted to also add with the channel panel that I will be moderating that event, and I'm very excited because it's the first one. We're going to have a lot more coming up throughout the years. We're very excited, and we have a wonderful show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We've got it all full. We've already got our Network 2 in the works. If you want to have something with channeling, join Daniel Scranton on Mondays. Tuesdays, you've got Soulfulpreneur if you're looking to connect with, your true path, your work, your abundance. Of course, Wednesday, this wonderful Rob Gauthier, who I love very much, love of my life, is always a blast every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Thursday, you've got Philip Malika. He's a blast. I mean, all things metaphysical, fun co-hosts and guests. Anything goes. And then, of course, you've got me, Earth Experience, Saturday, Odyssey of Ascension with Channeler Roxanne Swainhart. Man, you have a blast. It's definitely a party with Roxy. Foxy Roxy, we like to call her. And then Sunday, Karen Newman, about oneness to 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Again, we have the new Enlightenment Evolution Network 2 with Victoria Vives, who hosts Earth's Guided People. We're running out of time, but you can find all of that on our Facebook. We have a group and a page on Enlightenment Evolution Network, and we're also putting everything up on YouTube. So you guys want to come and get your dose on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio, please feel free to go to that. And if you love what we're doing, you can donate to any one of us. We do this out of our hearts. But if you like what we're doing, please feel free to donate. If not, we will accept donations of love as well. So I want to thank everyone tonight for joining us on Episode 2 of the Earth Experience with Kalina Angell, and, of course, Rob Gauthier and Treb.
May I share something?
Trop. Sure.
May I share something on the announcements way? I do want to also put in really quick before we end the show that trebchanneling.com has been a great success in the last 6 months to a year, but I want to give my greatest gratitude to Kalina Angell, who has been the one who is keeping everything together over there at Treb Channeling. She's doing all the hard work and making it easy for me to just channel. So special thanks to Kalina Angell for the upcoming channel panel. You did a lovely poster. If anyone needs CG after they see that poster, get a hold of Kalina because she can make a poster unlike anyone can. Thank you, sweetie. I love you, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I love you too, baby, and we love all of you guys out there too. And we'll take you out with a little bit of jazz. Have a wonderful, wonderful night, and we will see you next week. Love, guys. Have fun in that Earth experience.
Happy here with this lonely game we play. this lonely game we play. Thoughts of leaving disappear every time I see your eyes. No matter how hard I try to understand the reasons why we carry on this way, we're lost in a masquerade. Both afraid to say we're just too far away from being close together from the start. We tried to talk it over, but the words got in the way. We're lost inside this lonely game we play. Thoughts of leaving disappear every time I see your eyes. No matter how hard I try